Hello, guys, and welcome to another episode of No Strings Attached. Today, I have a pleasure of talking to Katherine Sebov. And just before we start, I want to remind our viewers and listeners to like the video. It helps promote the channel, promote the podcast, and subscribe if you like this kind of content. Katherine, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Bogdan. It's very nice to talk to you and see you again, and I'm very happy to be here.
Absolutely. I love talking to players, to active pro players, because, this podcast is about giving a platform to people to share their knowledge, share their journey. And a lot of listeners is coaches and, younger players and parents. So that's why I'm super excited to talk to you, because you have so much, they could learn just by listening to you. So I want to start right away by asking, how did you get into tennis? Everybody's journey is somehow different, but how did you start?
Sure. Yeah, so it wasn't in the plans for me. The way I started was an accident. The time I was about almost 8 years old. My parents at the time, they wanted like a weekend activity, and so they were at Valon Tennis Academy. I'm not sure if you know it.
Yeah, of course.
It's like a Russian-speaking academy. And they had a balcony at the time, so I would watch them hit and take lessons with Valera. And one day I just decided to come down and try it for myself. And ever since, I couldn't stop. So
That's amazing. So you started at 8 years old.
I was almost 8. Yeah, so
Wow.
It was like around October, and my birthday's in January, so I was almost 8. Yeah.
Okay. Did you play any other sport before?
No. I had a very active childhood, but I didn't play any sports, and definitely sport wasn't in the picture. Like my dad, he's very into education and stuff like that. And my mom, she doesn't come from a sports background either. So I'm first generation athlete. Like,
wow.
This is not something that's in the family.
That's so cool, and it's especially very inspiring to hear that you started. I would say, I don't want to say late, but towards the later kind of like window, of like when typically like players who make it start. So that's very inspiring, I'm sure, for some of our younger listeners to hear. And when did you have your first success as a junior tennis player? Like whether it's provincial level, whether it's national level.
I don't know. Like I started the rookie tour, like at the time.
That's where it all starts, right? If you're in Canada.
Like first, I had some success like in the club at Valera's, and like I would beat some kids there, and then I started the rookie tour or whatever, and then like made finals of a tournament that was at Aviva at the time. And I guess that would be like the first success, and then it kind of built up from there, like selections, provincials, and then nationals. Like a really big memory of mine, and like I would say one of the first successful tournaments I've had on a higher level was I think it was under 12 or under I think it was under 12 nationals in Calgary. Where I played the number 1 player in Canada, Patricia Mwamba. And I beat her there in the second round. And that was like very shocking and eye-opening to like Tennis Canada and like a lot of coaches that were there and a lot of players, because she was kind of unbeatable. Like she was doing really, really well. She was with Tennis Canada, I think, full time, and that's kind of like when I made my first appearance and made myself visible.
Was that your first year U12 or last year 12?
I don't want to lie to you. I'm not sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I have a feeling first year, but I'm not entirely sure.
All right.
I was very young, I remember.
Okay, so you were noticed by
Yeah.
Tennis Canada. Did
Mhm.
they were there like training centers like back in the time when that happened? Did they invite you to train with them,
So
or like
yes.
what
Yeah. So
changed after that
mhm.
nationals for you?
Yeah, after that, I think I left the academy when I was 12 to go with TC. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they asked me to join their program, and Bob Brett was like the head at the time,
Yeah.
and the program was excellent when he was there. He wasn't always present. He was traveling a lot, but he would
Mm-hmm.
always come and like see how the kids are doing, how the coaching is going, and there were a lot of players at the time, a lot of competition, um, and I think it was an excellent program for me to develop. Obviously, like things changed once he left, and there weren't as many players, and the politics in TC wasn't good. They would take a lot of kids from Toronto and other parts of the country to Montreal,
Mm-hmm.
and things sort of fell apart. But I think I got the best of the program while Bob was there.
Can you elaborate a little bit on what was so special about that program? Like what stood out to you that you think made a difference in your development?
Uh, the coaching was good. There were good coaches there, very passionate, very dedicated to help the players.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but mostly I remember the competition to be what sort of drove me to get better and made it exciting.
Mm-hmm.
So um, you want to be the best there. You play points with kids that are, at your level and even higher. Like there's like a little bit of an age gap, but we all hit together and you know, trained and pushed each other. And I think that competition aspect, where like players make each other better because they just want to improve and,
Yeah.
beat each other. I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself, but like players make players, I would say. So I think when there's more um, when there's more players in the pool, then that's when there's more improvement. Obviously, coaching is very important as well. You can't go without that, but I would say those are the two main factors at the time.
I want to talk to you about your passion because it seems like by what I heard so far, and by knowing you a little bit, that's kind of I think it's true. So all the passion and all the love for tennis comes from you, and it always came from you. Like
Yeah.
from the very first time you watched the tennis over that from that balcony, and you wanted, oh, I want to try that,
Hmm.
like and like how like where is it coming from? Like have you like because you like you said like there is no athletes in your family. You're the first athlete in the family. So where is that competition and desire to like win and succeed coming from, in your opinion?
Um, I guess it comes from within, like, I don't know, something. I believe that everything happens for a reason, and um, we create our own path, but once we find something that drives us, then we become kind of unstoppable.
Yeah.
And I don't know, that was tennis for me. I felt like this is my thing, you know. This
Mm-hmm.
is what makes me happy. This is what um drives me in life. And I was lucky enough to find that at such a young age. And it didn't matter um what my parents' background was or what obstacles were in the way. Um, as long as I had that vision of like, okay, this is what I want, then you find a way to make it work. I don't know exactly why I love tennis that much. Um, I think it's a combination of things. Maybe I'm just so competitive, and I love to see improvement in something, that something that I'm doing, and I just find it really rewarding. And I love being active. I love, you know, running and just like sprinting for a ball, and like also the strategy and tactics of tennis make it so interesting. And I find that even though tennis seems to be simple at times, it's also pretty complicated. So I don't know. It's just a beautiful sport, and I'm not surprised that I got into it, because it's truly an unbelievable um, like an unbelievable sport. I think, I don't know if that answers your question.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so um yeah.
Oh, 100%. And you know, the more I talk to players, the more I see in common that A, they mature earlier, typically, you know, like a pro player, like the
Yeah.
earlier than their peers, in the sense that they're very clear in what they want from the sport. And they are the ones, especially like I would say younger generation of play, like current generation, it's more and more that we see self-driven athletes, where I find like before it was more prevalent for, you know, for parents to kind of push their kids in tennis. And obviously there's still, to this day, you're not going to get away from that. But I feel like more and more players are more self-driven, and that's why they're showing results. That's why they're, you know, getting to the highest level. So that's very interesting to hear. And especially from such a young age, from 8 years old, you were able to tell that like this is, and it never left till this day. That's absolutely fascinating. I want to jump to the coaching, and I want to talk a lot about coaching. And in your early years, like since you started working with Tennis Canada, for example, or maybe, you know, maybe let's talk from Valan Academy, because that was your first coach. What do you remember from working with your first coach? What did he teach you that was so like, you know, made an impact on you?
I think first of all, he made me believe in myself. He's very good at making um people believe that they can do it.
How did he do that?
How did he do that?
Yeah.
Um, he used a lot of positive motivation, from what I remember. Um, but for me personally, he liked me a lot because I just grasped on the whole competition part so easily. So he just saw, I guess, the material that he had to work with, and he loved the whole like competitive, passionate, kind of emotional player that I was. And he knew how to develop it in a way that like to yeah, he just knew how to develop that. I don't know, through the way he spoke to me. I can't really say exactly what it was, but it just, the things that he was saying were so it just made me so excited to play the sport and to keep improving. And um I just found that it was a very positive atmosphere. Maybe that's what I think that is very important. So when you're starting out, to be in a place where you feel happy and comfortable, and yet excited um to do this activity, you know.
Yeah, I think
Whatever it is. Yeah.
I think this, sorry to interrupt, but I think it's the
Mhm.
single most important task of a coach who works especially with younger kids, younger
Yeah.
athletes, just to
Mhm.
give them that belief and give that ability to chase the dream and like see the potential and really just like empower, you know, with, like you said,
Mhm.
positive motivation. That's so strong. That's so powerful. And
I
you know,
had a
that's
lot of that. And from the beginning he said like you can make it, like you can do this.
wow.
Even though it was so far into the future,
Yeah.
and he knew like all the things that could go wrong in a player's career. It's such a long road. Like
Yes.
you don't know what's gonna happen. I see these people say like, "Oh, this is the next Federer at like 12 years
Yeah,
old,"
that's
or
right.
like, come on, like you don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know what's gonna happen at 13, 14, 16, 18, 21. Like you don't know what's gonna go
Yeah.
wrong or right. There's a lot of luck involved in tennis and in sport and in life. So you really don't know, but you have to believe that you can do it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, um if you're too pragmatic, like if you're think like, oh, what's the statistic of, making it or whatever, like
Yeah.
you're never gonna go for it. You have to
Yeah.
be a little bit delusional in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I know what
Like,
you're saying.
oh, I can do it, I it doesn't matter what's ahead. I can do it. And I think with that attitude, no matter what comes your way, what roadblocks, no matter how big, and
Hmm.
in my career there were big ones, like I should not have continued after like 13 years old. Like I should have stopped. Um but that's a different conversation. But
Oh, we'll get
yeah.
to that for sure here.
Yeah.
We'll get to that in a
We'll
bit.
get to that. Yeah.
Yeah. But when did you have you ever had any doubts that you're gonna make it as a junior? Or I guess maybe a better question is, when did you start really believing that you can make it yourself?
um I think I didn't get any doubts in myself till I was maybe in my teens.
Okay.
I I don't know if that's like a special case
Hmm.
or not, but um I think once things started going wrong and there were more pressures, especially pressures that TC put on me,
Hmm.
at the time, that nothing I did was good enough to a certain point.
Can
Um
you elaborate on that? Like, well, like how would you feel that as a player?
as a player, like the pressure, you mean?
Yeah, like where
Mm-hmm.
was that? Because it's very interesting, and I hear this from many players, especially training at the centers, the national center, whether it's Canada or any other
Mm-hmm.
national center, because all of a sudden they feel like they need to deliver more than any other player, because there is this just expectation, just because they're there, they're expected. Oh, we'll probably have to go pro. That's it. Like we have to win everything we play, and if we lose to somebody, it's like, oh my god. So
Yeah.
that's like I've heard that before. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
just curious, like what actions or what um I don't know, words or anything that what would you feel put pressure on you in that moment?
That's exactly right. That's what I felt. Like
Hmm.
I needed to beat um certain players to keep my
Hmm.
status,
Hmm.
and I had to be, I felt like, perfect to remain supported.
Hmm.
Otherwise I would lose support very quickly if I had like a bad season or something, And it's more about, I mean, there were some things, like specific things that they said, but it was more about like pushing to play tournaments, and especially like a lot of tournaments, like week after week, and like play through injuries, and like
Hmm.
um it just wasn't it wasn't a healthy atmosphere. They
Okay.
would sort of pin players against each other in a way, and
Hmm.
uh it just became this kind of like toxic, negative environment. Just, I would say, very negative.
Hmm.
And because of that, like players hated each other, and within the country. And I think for me personally, I just felt like nothing I did was good enough. And even when I did do well, it was sort of like, oh, that it was expected of me anyway.
Yeah.
And for a young kid, that is, it's difficult to go through.
How old
Yeah.
were you at that time? Like when you trained
Oh,
with Tennis Canada?
I think I was 14, 15.
Okay. So
About so,
so
yeah.
you trained for like 2-3 years with them? Is that
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah. And then I was traveling with like a TC coach or TC coaches. So 15, 16. Yeah, I think I was 16 years old. I was doing
Okay.
that. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, there were good things too. Yeah, I took good things out of the experience as well. It just I felt like their way of bringing up players promoted a lot of jealousy. So I didn't think that was good for
Like you
me.
felt you were competing, feel free to correct me, but you felt like you were competing for
Attention.
the
Yeah.
wrong like
hmm
reason, like not for
Yeah.
your own pride and not for your own
hmm
um I don't know, for your own motivation and for just more for like
Yes.
attention, for to keep the
Yeah.
spot and
hmm
you know,
Yeah,
that's
because
kind of the
there was a
feeling.
spot to fill.
Hmm.
And instead of bringing up a pool of players and giving everyone a chance to fulfill their potential,
Hmm.
they would just pick off one or two players and choose those as like, the chosen
Yeah,
ones. Those are the ones that are going to
that's right.
make it in their eyes. But I think that's so wrong because you need a pool of players to make
Yeah.
um to make professionals. And you it is wrong to say like this kid is going to make it and this one is not, because you don't know what's inside.
Yeah.
And everyone develops at their own speed. Everyone has their own journey. And even though if you didn't show enough at a young age, doesn't mean that you won't
Yeah.
show later.
Yeah.
They're late bloomers.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a prodigy.
100%.
And yeah, and for them, like even if you were a prodigy, it still like wasn't enough in their eyes because they don't like your game style, or they don't like your who you are as a person. Even like I was very emotional, maybe they didn't like that.
Hmm.
I was very emotional, very aggressive. Um and I don't know, it's just somehow you know like
But also young. It's not
yeah.
like you were an adult, at
Yeah,
that
yeah,
time. So
yeah.
it's everybody's has something they need to work on. So,
Yeah,
it's
absolutely. The bottom line is you need a pool of players. You can't just pick
yeah.
off one player in the
And
country.
100%. And I think that's always for many years that's been an issue, with federation picking certain players. And 100%, I agree with you in a sense
hmm
that even later when I worked there, like there would always, and again, understandably so, because we're not like a Grand Slam country, like we don't have like pretty much unlimited budgets.
hmm
So and I don't want to speak for them, but in my mind, they were just, okay, we have like this limited amount of money. We can only fully support two players. And that's kind of it's a philosophy, right? So that's like something they decided to go with. And over the years, from what I've seen, they try to support more and more and more players. Um, so which is again like different countries have different approaches, and I know Germany, that's what they're pretty much are doing. They let players stay at their clubs a little bit longer, till they're, like 16, something like that. And then they do regroupings. And like you said, like from the very beginning, like what you liked that Bob Brett's program, there was a lot of players. And you said players make players. So
Yeah.
I 100% agree with you. Many coaches, including national coaches at Tennis Canada, agree would agree with that statement that we need more players because,
Yeah, we do.
like you start with 20 players, you push one another, and then, 18 or like 16 go to the next level, and then those 16 start pushing, then 8, all of this, like it's inevitably like somebody will rise to the top.
Absolutely. That's what the players need.
Yeah.
It's essential.
So if I read it correctly, you were 22 in the world, juniors, something like
Yes.
that. Like you were pretty high ranked as a junior.
Yeah, like
So
15, yeah.
yeah, so
I was doing okay.
yeah, that's incredible. So even like despite the pressure and like you said everything, so you were a high achiever as a junior tennis player.
Yeah.
So you handled that pressure pretty well. And so when did you, I guess, felt the most success as a junior? Like when did you when things kind of aligned as a junior tennis player? What was happening in your training, in your life?
When I started working with Robert Lansdorp,
Hmm.
I I felt that I was developing as a player very rapidly. So I felt like when I worked with him more in California, that's when my tennis was going up. Like Robert helped me a lot to develop, like as a person and as a player. And yeah, my ground strokes are thanks to him. And um, mentally, I'm able to handle a lot because of this person as well, like what he taught me about the tour um, before actually going. And
How old were you there when you started working with him?
when I met him when I was 13. He was at a conference in Toronto,
Yeah,
actually. Yeah, and
I remember that one. He was on the
yeah,
couch, I think, no, like delivering that conference or
no, he
something.
was on the court. He was on the
Okay,
court.
okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I actually came onto the court to like do an example of a drill or something. I think we
Hmm.
were doing reverse forehands.
Okay.
And yeah, so I was on the court doing that with him, and I remember he gave his email to my mom and say like,
Hmm.
"Hey, if you ever want to come over and train, so here's my email, and we'll uh, we'll make something happen." And I think first time I practiced with him, I was like 13 or 14.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and
Which is a huge privilege. Obviously, Robert Lanzer, for anybody listening, is a legend of a
yeah.
coach who worked with Sharapova, Sampras, Davenport, like
Hmm.
the list goes on. So like at the 13, to get access to that knowledge is crucial. So I want to ask you, like, how long did you work with him for? Like you said, till you kind of transitioned to pro?
On and off from like about 13, 14 till 18. And even when I was 20, I think I remember going to him a few
Wow.
times, just a little less like once I became an adult, also like because of his health issues.
Yeah.
But yeah, um, I definitely spent a lot of hours with him during
So
those
what did
years.
you learn the most? If you could maybe, obviously you cannot like put like it in a very short format, but is there anything that sticks out to you, like a couple things you can mention?
Couple things. Play without fear. That was his big thing. Um, as long as you stay disciplined and work hard, then you will achieve whatever you want to achieve.
Hmm.
Um, he was big on believing in yourself and your abilities that you can be great.
Yet another
Um,
coach
hmm?
yet another coach who would instill that in you, right?
Yes,
Believing in
yes,
yourself, you got
yeah,
this, you can do it.
yeah. I would say those are like the biggest things that stood out to me. Um, yeah.
What fascinates me is that you never said anything about not that you didn't work on it, but you never said anything about tactics or like, oh, he improved my forehand, like it's always something deeper than that. So something more personal, something more that, you can, to this day, you still have his words in his mind, and you're probably like, yeah, that's like, I got this, like, let's go. I have to play with that. So it's something that sticks with you for life. It's not something just like, oh, do this, or, so it's just tells you how much more, we have to think as coaches, I guess, when we're working with players.
Yeah. He did talk about tactics, like
Of
strategy,
course.
but it was more like developing the stroke to be able to have those tools. And so he would develop basically your weapons, and then you decide what you want to do with them. So he will develop a massive forehand cross for you, because it's so important, especially in women's tennis. Big backhand cross, forehand down the line, backhand down the line, great serve. Technique on volleys he was excellent with as well. He wouldn't talk like specific, like very like into detail of biomechanics, but he knew how it should work, and he was very good at like showing how the stroke should be hit, and the use of your legs, the use of your power. And he was huge on repetition. So you're hitting ball after ball after ball after ball. And actually, by doing that, you can't force for too long or hit the ball in with bad biomechanics, ball after ball after ball. You'll get injured or you'll get tired. So your body sort of figures out a way how to do it efficiently. And because you're so focused on a target, on like hitting such a deep target, you will, your intentions go along with how to hit this big ball. So there is no way that you're going to hit a deep penetrating ball in the court without good biomechanics that you'll be able to repeat over and over and over again.
So your body finds a way.
Your body finds a way. Yeah.
That's it. Or it collapses. So it's like,
or else it will collapse. So it was, his way of teaching was so simple and so genius. And nobody else does it the way he did. And it was proven to be extremely effective, because I think at 1 year in the US Open, he had 20 players in the main draw.
That's fascinating.
How insane is that?
That's crazy.
Like men and women.
That's amazing stat.
Like nobody else did it.
Yeah. No, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So obviously working with him and other coaches along the way, you were able to rise to the top of the junior level, having perfected those strokes and having your weapons, so to speak. And I know you were pretty aggressive throughout your whole career, but transitioning from junior to start playing your pro events and like leaving juniors, that's a very difficult path. Because you're coming from the top. I'm the top of the game. I'm the best in the world, one of the best in the world. To you're nobody. You're starting from the lowest level, and like it's kind of like back to the grind, so to speak. So can you talk a little bit about like your early years of transitioning and your early stages of transitioning and how you felt, going from junior to pro tennis?
I remember feeling like pro tennis was a different ball game than juniors. In pros, obviously the players are a lot more experienced and more foxy and street smart, I think, than juniors. And you really have to beat those players. You have to have something special to get through ITFs, and you have to be very good mentally, and like your game has to be sharp. And I would say a big part of it is also staying physically healthy, so you can string enough matches and play enough tournaments within the year. Because I found that it was physically more demanding to play at a pro level. The matches were more difficult. Yeah, so it's just the players have more experience and they're more difficult to beat. And
How long did it take you to just adjust your mindset that it's a different game? I need to do something different. I need to be stronger. I need to, play different game.
Well, it became clear to me that I had to work on my physique. I was very thin for a long time. So I had to take those years to develop physically. And because of that limitation, it was hard for me to really shoot up and stay there. Stay there consistently. So I needed to take that time to just physically get stronger. And I know that's not the case for everyone. Everyone's body is different. Everyone's body type is different. There are some stronger players, and then there are the late bloomers. So for me, I think the physique was the biggest thing, but my skill level was obviously there. I had a lot of skill already to beat a lot of players on the pro circuit. Because at 18 years old, like I was already shot up. I think I was around 500, and then I shot up to like 250-ish. Yeah, I beat some like top 100 players. Like I did pretty well. So I think the key is to understand what you need to improve at that level. So you keep progressing. You don't try to cling to results too much. You need to put the process ahead of results all the time. It doesn't matter where you are in your career. And you need to have a clear vision of like what you need to do to get there. So if you need to get physically stronger, you need to mentally work on things. You need to get mentally tougher to handle different situations, because it's tennis is very very psychological, as everyone knows.
Yeah.
And you need to know how to develop your game. So the little details that you need to add to get to the next level, and of course, like it's a journey. It takes time to develop that. There are some people who are lucky; they get very good coaching. They have a lot of resources, and they just put it together quickly and shoot up, like Coco Gauff or Swiatek, or but it's not everyone's path, and a lot of the
It's an
times
exception. That's important to understand. That's those cases are an exception because
yes,
they get
they're an
too good
exception.
too young when they're too young too early, and everything aligns. Like you said, we talked about it earlier on the show, that like it's a lot of it. It's like luck in a sense, and the coincidences. So you have like your resources, coaching, like your physical ability as a kid in general, like you're good physically, so boop boop boop, everything like aligns, and you have your Alcarazes, and you have your Federers and your Gauffs, and whoever peaks so early and they get like quickly propelled. But I think the story of a pro player that's in your like top 50, in your top 100, top 150, it's not like 17 and you're already getting rich, and like it's
Yeah,
like
of
it's a lot
course.
of so
And a lot of
maybe,
the times those players are not ready for that level of success, and then they have a
yeah.
drop later in their career because they just can't handle it. And then what would you rather have? Would you rather get there a little bit slower and then have your success at like mid-20s or late 20s? Or would you rather have success very early and then have like a huge drop of nothing afterwards? So,
Yeah.
I mean, both players sort of got to the same results, but one of them is learning their lessons later,
That's right.
and one learned before they got the success and could be happier in the end
Yeah,
because
and knows
they,
how to handle it at that point
yeah,
because of
knows
so
how to,
much experience before.
yeah,
You know,
knows how to handle it and how to appreciate it.
yeah,
Because
that's very true.
success on paper doesn't necessarily make you happy. You have
Hmm.
to be happy before you
That's
even
very
made
true.
those moves.
It's like that pretty much Agassi's book Open. That's what it's all about. Like he was number one. He had everything that any player could ever wish
I
for.
love that book. It's so
It's
good.
it's amazing. It's fundamental. If
Yeah.
anybody hasn't read it, like it's an absolute must read for any kid that it's very easy to read, and any coach, any player, it's unbelievable. Yeah. So, but it was the second time when he got to number one because he was fulfilled as a person. He had a reason
Yeah.
he was playing tennis for, and it's just like that's so true in
Yeah.
life. If you're not happy now, like we've heard it so many times on those motivational podcasts and videos, like if you're not happy now, you're never gonna be happy.
Yeah, you think you're going to be happy once you achieved your goal? No, you're going to achieve it and then you're going to be even like actually first of all, you have less chances of achieving it if you're not happy now, but even if
Hmm.
you do get to where you want to be, you're not going to be magically happy. Like
Yeah,
all of
that's
a
true.
sudden, you're going to be quite disappointed. So it's
Yeah,
so important to if like to take anything away from a journey of in anything, but especially sport,
hmm,
I would say um, be happy now in the process, be grateful for what you have, for your opportunities, and um, success will come. And when it does come, you will be so, so happy instead of just, grinding and fighting and just struggling to get there. Just life is short. There's no time to be um like worried or upset about something or like negative or complain. There's no time for that. Um just be happy now and with whatever you're doing and trust that you will get to where you want to be.
that's fantastic. That's a
Yeah.
great motivational speech from Katherine right there. No, it's good. I want to ask you about your current coach and current for the longest time I've seen you with your mom on the court
Mhm.
who like you said earlier she hasn't played tennis before. She she's not coming from a sport background, but she's been such a instrumental like person that contributed to your success because she's been with you, like I said, every time I was at TC and you were on court, it was her. Every time, I would see you somewhere else, it was her, and like she's always like giving you some tips. And so, how is it, I guess, possible that a person can help you so much by not? That's something I never understood, by not really being a tennis player, from the past. You know what I mean? Like, so,
Yeah.
like, how is it, and why did you choose in the end to work with your mom? And she's your current coach. Is that true?
Yes,
Just
yeah,
okay.
she's my coach. Yeah, there's no
So
one
how
else.
so how is that possible that a a person with no tennis background can make such a big impact on a tennis player? And how is it working with your own mom? Because I'm sure at times it gets difficult.
Yeah. Good. Yeah, especially in the past when I was a stupid teenager, it was it was hard. It was hard for both of us because my hormones were flying
Yeah.
and she had to, take a lot of shit. So yeah, it was was not easy for sure for
I
either
think
of
both
us.
of you, it was going both ways.
It was going both ways, yeah. It was tough. Um, she is just a very, very, very committed parent, and she would be at pretty much all of my practices. There were very few practices she wasn't at, and she just learned a lot through observation and listening, and through my coaches over the years, like from Valera and Bob and Robert. So she learned a lot from them, and she watched a lot of tennis herself on YouTube, and she did a lot of research, and she, in her past life, before tennis, she was an interior designer. So
Okay.
she has a very good eye for she just has a very good eye in general, and to her, good biomechanics is beauty. So she had a very like keen eye for how you should hit a ball effectively, and we're still working on that now and improving that. And I would say like it's a mix of her personal talents and just what she learned over the years of observation. So she was just very involved in my life and in tennis, and I think that made her a really great coach. I genuinely think that she is a much better coach than a lot of coaches out there.
Wow.
Who have played themselves.
I
Like,
hear a little bit of bias, but that's okay. We're gonna
it's a little bit of bias.
a
Yes,
little bit of bias.
yes, but I genuinely think she could help, even like she can help other players. 100%. I would make that statement. Um,
What are the top lessons that you learned from her?
Top lessons.
Yeah.
Put ego aside
Okay.
and just listen.
Listen
Yeah,
to your mom
listen.
and to your coach.
Yes. So, if someone is telling you something that you need to improve or giving you criticism, you have to put that ego aside and don't defend yourself and just listen, even if you don't agree with it. And if you feel like you want to explain yourself, don't, just listen. So I would say that was like a really big lesson for me is no ego and listen. And she obviously, like, the whole discipline part of life I got from
Yeah.
her. We're very hard on ourselves in terms of like, we have high standards of how we should be working and how organized we have to be, and how involved in the process of self-improvement we should be. So and actually, speaking of self-improvement, she instilled a very good growth mindset for me. So it's like, in my life, I just try to improve myself as a person and as a player in different areas of life. And I think without those values, I wouldn't be who I am today, and it's because of her.
Yeah, that's
So,
amazing. I see on Instagram, like from time to time, you post some like self, like I guess that's how you're self-educating, like by listening to podcasts and some motivational things, and so that's just showcases your mindset that you're still learning, you're still researching, you're still like humble, and you still want more. That talks to that growth mindset. So that's amazing. And again, I'll mention it because I'm fascinated that every single time, like and that's a big message to everybody who's listening, that you haven't mentioned, and again, we understand that it happened, but it's always like a bigger lessons that you get from people, some values and some, some self-belief. It's never really like, that some technical thing, which of course happened. It's fascinating. I think that's super important. And I want to talk to you about your current, somewhat current. So, because last year you achieved your highest singles ranking. You played Australian Open main draw. which is like a fantastic like milestone, a fantastic result to play a Grand Slam main draw. Can you talk about what, in your opinion, made you part of the main draw? What did you do with your game, with your mindset that, made you earn a spot to play among the best players?
It's a mix of things, of course. I think it was the accumulation of all the work that I did on court with my mom, and all the matches that I played the year before. So I had a successful year in ITFs before
Yes.
before playing the Australian Open. So I got my matches in, and I was ready to step up the level because of that. So getting
So
that
they
match.
gave you enough confidence to kind of
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, I'm ready for something
Yes.
better, for something
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So match experience is extremely important. Bob Brett at the time, he said that you need 76 matches to feel amazing and to feel like you're playing at an extremely high level. So that's the mindset that I had when I was in ITF. So I was like, okay, I need to get as many matches as possible, and then I will achieve my goal.
Hmm.
And by the end of that year, I didn't get 76, but I got like a lot.
Do you
So
know why 76? Like, it's such a particular
I don't know
number.
why it's a specific
It's
number,
like,
but he said 76, so I go with 76.
okay, fair enough. You never wanted to ask, like, what? Hey, Bob, why 76?
No,
Why not 74?
he told it
I'm
to
at
me off.
74 right now, but is that that's
I
not
need
good
two
enough?
more. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's just something he said, and it doesn't have to be 76 maybe, but I don't know. He had his
Maybe it
reasons. I
does.
can't, yeah. He's gone now, so I can't ask him,
Yeah.
unfortunately, but
Yeah.
yeah, so it was that, and also I worked on my game a lot that allowed me to play at a higher level. And also I got to the point where um like mentally I was at peace. I was very
Hmm.
happy. And it's
Hmm.
almost like I felt like I already succeeded. I already had everything that I wanted. And then it just sort of started coming to me, you know? I felt like I already got what I wanted, and then that year I was making it a reality. It's like
Wow.
law of attraction, or whatever you
That's
want to
right.
call it. Yeah. So mix of those three things: matches, work, and um, yeah, mindset, spirituality, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's tennis. That's like
Yeah.
it's all those components. That's
Mhm.
amazing. And what about now, Catherine? What's your current, I guess, plans and I guess goals, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah. So this year was tough. I had a bad wrist injury, which didn't allow me to play that many matches, and it took a while to get out of that. And then there were some issues here and there in the summer with health. So right now I'm just back to the basics. Like, okay, I need to get my 76 matches, and that's what I'm working on. I had a good fall. I got quite a few matches in the ITFs, and I'm basically just going to keep doing that until I get myself um, to a very high level.
Hmm.
So it's my plan to just play, stay healthy, um, keep developing as a person, and keep working. And I don't have like I don't really believe in goals,
Hmm.
if that makes sense. I'm more
Can you
about
elaborate on that? It's interesting.
um I believe that setting a goal in a way um isn't really a good idea in terms of like, okay, you know where you want to be abstractly, but if you're not, it's like if you have not achieved that goal, then you're not really happy.
Hmm.
So I would say like my goal is to stay in the moment and um already feel like I've achieved that goal. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I feel
to me it makes a lot of sense because
it's like I want to feel like I'm already there and I'm doing all the moves to get myself there, but I don't have like a goal like, okay, I want to be top 50 in like 6 months.
Yeah.
Because if you don't achieve it, then you feel like, oh, I failed.
No, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah. So I don't really like goals because of that. I've done that quite a few times and I have like not achieved it. And I felt bad. Yeah. And instead of looking back and seeing all the progress that I made and thinking like, okay, actually, this is way better than being top 50 now, because top 50 will happen whenever it's meant to happen. So it doesn't need to be something on paper. It's too materialistic for me, I guess.
Yeah, it makes sense. And it is a law of attraction if you think about your goals in the present tense, like you're mentally preparing yourself to get there, and you will start subconsciously or start doing things as if you're already whatever that your goal is, like let's say top 100, whatever, like you'll start subconsciously doing things that, well, what if I'm top 100, what should I do? Should I do more training? Should I do? So you're already like in that mindset of top 100 player. So I totally get it. Like I use this trick with some of the junior players just to kind of help them to get to their goals, but it's very
so if
relatable.
You want to be top 5, act like top 5 today.
That's right. Exactly.
What would a top 5 player do?
Exactly.
And just do that every single day, and then eventually you'll probably get there.
Yeah.
So
it occupies your mind instead of thinking, oh, top 5. It occupies your mind to actually like think, what should I do?
What should I do? Yeah.
Exactly. That's amazing. Katherine, I want to thank you for your time. This has been a blast. Like, so almost turned into a spiritual podcast towards the end. Like we were this close to becoming like a motivational spiritual podcast. So that's fantastic. Maybe we'll keep those ideas for another time. But thanks a lot for coming.
Time we can get deeper into it. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. No, fantastic. But thanks a lot for coming, and I wish you luck. In the upcoming year. Hopefully, you will.
Thank you so much.
Achieve what you want to achieve.
Thank you so much, Bogdan. I hope you achieve whatever you want to achieve as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. This has been great.
A blast. Fantastic.
Yeah. Let's do it again sometime.
We will.